I'm Tom, 42 years old, married to Lucia for 11 years, and father to two amazing kids. From the outside, our life looked normal. Suburban house, predictable routines, and the kind of comfortable marriage most people envy. I worked long hours because I wanted to give us a future, a bigger house, college funds for the kids, vacations we never quite took. Life felt steady, safe, like I was building something permanent. Lucia and I met in our late 20s. She was quiet but magnetic, the kind of person who made you feel like you mattered. I was drawn to her warmth, her steadiness, her ability to turn ordinary nights into memorable ones. I thought I knew her inside and out. We laughed together, argued about chores, and shared the kind of intimacy that felt unshakable. Then there's Mark, my best friend since college. He's been part of my life for over 20 years. I trusted him completely. He stood next to me at my wedding, played with our kids, fixed things around the house, and stayed on our couch more times than I can count. He was like a brother. I never imagined he could hurt me, or that anyone I loved could. Looking back now, I can see the cracks forming, the subtle shifts I ignored. But at the time, everything felt normal. Comfortable. Safe. Foolishly safe. I didn't see the storm approaching. I didn't know that the two people I trusted most would one day redefine betrayal for me. I'd never told anyone this story fully. Not friends, not family, not even a therapist. This is me finally putting it into words, raw and unfiltered, the way it still hurts every day. Lucia and I had been together for almost 15 years. In the beginning, everything was effortless. We laughed at the same jokes, shared the same small obsessions, and somehow, it felt like she read my mind. When we had kids, it felt like the natural extension of what we were building. I believed that love like ours, steady, predictable, comfortable, could survive anything. Mark, though. Mark had always been around. He moved in and out of our lives like a tide, sometimes staying for months, sometimes gone for weeks. He was charming in a way I admired but also envied. Single most of the time, but never lonely, always finding his place in other people's lives. Lucia welcomed him like family. I did too. I trusted both of them completely. The red flags were small, subtle. Mark would text her more than I noticed, and I'd shrug it off. Friends text, I told myself. She started staying later at girls' nights, sometimes with vague explanations that seemed plausible. The two of them would laugh together a little too long, their glances lingering. My gut occasionally twisted, but I always silenced it. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. I worked hard, long hours, building the future I imagined for my family. When I came home exhausted, I wanted peace, not suspicion. I ignored the whispers in my mind, convinced that loyalty alone was enough to protect us. I thought love, trust, and daily presence meant everything. Looking back, I see now how blind I was, how carefully they hid the truth right in front of me. I felt secure. I felt in control. And that was exactly when my entire world began to unravel. It started with something small, something stupid, and yet it shattered everything. One evening, Lucia left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, or at least I told myself that. The phone buzzed, and my eyes flicked to it out of habit. Mark's name flashed on the screen, followed by a heart emoji. My stomach dropped instantly. I didn't open the message. I told myself it was harmless, a joke between friends. But my gut tightened anyway. That night, I noticed little things I'd always overlooked, the lingering glances, whispered laughter when I entered a room, subtle shifts in their tone when the three of us were together. I wanted to rationalize it, to convince myself I was imagining things. But the nagging voice wouldn't go away. Lucia's behavior changed too. She started dressing differently, more deliberately, more carefully. Perfume I hadn't noticed before. Small touches that made her look desirable in a way that felt pointed, like she was performing for someone. I asked her about it. She smiled and said she wanted to feel good about herself again. I believed her. I kissed her forehead and told her she was beautiful. I never knew then who she was really dressing for. And Mark, he seemed more present than ever, always knowing things about our schedule I hadn't told him. Offering support in ways that felt protective but, in hindsight, were calculated. I ignored it, dismissed my unease, clinging to the trust one had always given them both. I wish I'd seen it sooner. I wish I'd acted. But I stayed blind. And that blindness would cost me everything. The revelation came unexpectedly, and in the most mundane way. Lucia asked me to check something on her laptop while she was at work, some spreadsheet for the kids' school, she said. Her email was already open. A draft sat there, unsent. I wasn't looking for it, but my eyes caught it anyway. It was addressed to Mark. And it wasn't innocent. She wrote about missing him. About the difficulty of pretending everything was normal around me. About us, and how they would figure it out soon. And then the words that broke me entirely: I love you. I stared at that screen, hands numb, ears ringing, unable to comprehend the reality in front of me. For a moment I convinced myself it wasn't real, that I was misreading it, hallucinating. But the words were undeniable. My mind raced, trying to piece together a year of laughter, friendship, trust, all of it now tainted. When Lucia came home that evening, I asked the question that I already knew the answer to. How long? She didn't deny it. She just sat there, trembling, unable to meet my eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. She confessed it had been going on for over a year, while I worked, while I coached the kids' soccer team, while I planned our future. She said it started emotional, then physical, then complicated. I remember laughing, though it wasn't a happy laugh. It was disbelief, horror, humiliation all tangled together. I felt exposed, like I'd been stripped bare in front of the two people I trusted most. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just stared at the ceiling, the words I love you echoing like a curse. The moment she said Mark's name out loud, something inside me fractured. Mark? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper, though I already knew the answer. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, refusing to look at me. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear all at once. Instead, I just stood there shaking, my heart hammering like it might escape my chest. Disbelief was the first thing that hit me. I couldn't process it. I kept asking the same questions over and over. Was it in our house? Did you bring him around the kids? Do you love him? Each question made her flinch, each answer tearing me a little more. The one that cut deepest was her hesitation when I asked if she loved him. I don't know, she admitted. Those words lodged in my chest and refused to leave. Anger came next. I punched the wall, not hard, but enough to hurt my hand. The pain was immediate and distracting, a physical outlet for the emotional chaos. I wanted to yell at her, at Mark, at myself for being blind. My hands shook. My chest felt like it was on fire. Shame followed quickly. How had I missed it? How had I been so naive? I had trusted both of them completely, and now I felt foolish, exposed, humiliated. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. Lucia tried to apologize, to explain, but her words were meaningless. All I could feel was the betrayal, sharp and suffocating. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I just sat on the couch, numb, listening to the house that used to feel like home feel like a stranger's place. 2 days later, I confronted Mark. I didn't plan it, I just knew I couldn't carry the anger and confusion alone anymore. He showed up at my house, smiling nervously like he always did. I opened the door and for the first time, I saw him differently, smaller, somehow unsteady, yet still infuriatingly calm. Tom, I can explain, he said. His voice trembled slightly, but I didn't care. I shoved the door open wider. Get out, I said, my voice louder than I expected. He tried to step closer, but I raised a hand. Now. Leave. Never come back. Tears welled up in his eyes. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't plan it. You and Lucia, you were drifting apart anyway. It just happened. I laughed, bitter, hollow, the kind of laugh that makes you feel both ridiculous and furious. Drifting apart? You're talking about my wife. My family. You've been lying to my face for over a year, and you call it drifting apart? Lucia appeared in the hallway, silent, trembling. That image haunts me. The two people I trusted most, standing there, both guilty, both wanting something from me they didn't deserve. Mark said he loved her, that he'd step back if I wanted him to. That he valued our friendship. I shook my head. Leave. Now. Or I swear, you won't see your friends again. You're done. He left. Lucia collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. All I felt was hate, toward her, toward Mark, and toward myself for being blind, loyal, and foolish. That night, I realized something terrifying. Life as I knew it was over. The days after the confrontation were a blur of anger, grief, and disbelief. I oscillated between wanting to rip everything apart and shutting down completely. Every memory of laughter, of trust, of family dinners, suddenly felt poisoned. I replayed every conversation, every glance, every moment, wondering when the first betrayal had begun. It was exhausting, like living in a constant fog of doubt. Lucia tried to talk. She wanted explanations, wanted me to understand her confusion, her feelings for Mark. I couldn't. I couldn't reconcile the woman I loved with the woman who had betrayed me. Every word she spoke felt like salt in a wound that wouldn't heal. I felt betrayed, yes, but also powerless, humiliated, and deeply ashamed that I hadn't seen it sooner. The kids noticed. Our son asked why Mommy cried so much. Our daughter clung to me as if I could keep the world from falling apart. I tried to shield them from the truth, but children are perceptive. Their sadness mirrored my own in ways that broke me. I realized then that my pain wasn't just mine, it rippled outward, affecting the little lives I loved more than anything. Sleep became impossible. Food lost its taste. Work felt meaningless. I questioned myself constantly. Was I not enough? Had I failed somehow? Could love like ours survive this? I began therapy, learning to name the emotions that felt too heavy to carry alone: betrayal, trauma, emotional abandonment. Yet even with words, the weight didn't lighten. I realized something I didn't want to admit. My life had changed forever, and there was no returning to the person I once was. Eventually, the house felt unbearable. Every corner, every familiar object seemed to echo with betrayal. We decided on a temporary separation for the kids' sake. Lucia moved into an apartment. I stayed behind. The silence in the house was suffocating. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, haunted by memories of laughter, warmth, and trust now replaced by lies. Mark vanished from our lives, and mutual friends chose sides or quietly disappeared. It was a harsh lesson in conditional loyalty. I realized that some people only remain in your life when it suits them. I felt abandoned in more ways than one. Lucia and I attempted counseling. She cried endlessly, trying to explain herself. I mostly sat in silence, numb and disconnected. She wanted to rebuild trust. I didn't know how to trust my own judgment anymore. She admitted she had imagined a life with Mark, and that terrified her. She confessed that she stayed with me because I was safe, reliable, loving, but that she had sought excitement elsewhere. That hurt more than the physical betrayal. The kids adapted faster than I did. They accepted the new normal, while I struggled to make sense of what our family even meant anymore. Work became a refuge and a punishment at the same time. I stared at my computer, exhausted, sleep-deprived, disconnected. I began to understand that the old version of our life, our family, our home, our trust, was gone. There was no undoing what had happened. All I could do was navigate the ruins and try to remain a stable presence for the kids while grappling with the gnawing emptiness left in my own heart. After months of therapy, separation, and tense conversations, The question came quietly but with immense weight. Could we truly try again? Lucia asked if we could rebuild our marriage, start fresh, with no contact with Mark and complete transparency. Her eyes pleaded, her voice trembling, and part of me wanted to say yes. Part of me still loved her. But the truth hit harder than any argument ever could. I couldn't. I realized I didn't recognize myself in that potential future. The thought of constantly questioning every word, every gesture, every phone call was unbearable. Love should feel safe. It should feel like home. I couldn't turn trust into a permanent surveillance mission, even for someone I once adored. I told her gently, painfully, that I couldn't. She cried, accused me of giving up, said I was throwing away our family. Maybe I was. But I also knew the foundation was gone. You can forgive someone, you can try to rebuild, but the old version of trust, of innocence, of unconditional faith, it doesn't come back. We finalized the divorce a year later. Co-parenting is functional, polite, but awkward. Conversations are limited to schedules, school events, and homework. Deep emotional connection has been replaced by distance and caution. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the woman I loved in her smile or the way she hugs our kids, and it hurts like a fresh wound. I don't know what happened with her and Mark after. Part of me doesn't want to know. Some things, I realized, are better left in the shadows. The life I thought I had, the family I built, exists now only in memory and in lessons I'm forced to carry every day. It's been 3 years since the divorce. On paper, I'm fine. I work, I pay bills, I show up for my kids. I smile when they need me to. I coach their games, I help with homework. I've rebuilt routines, a semblance of normalcy. But beneath the surface, things are fractured in ways that don't heal with time. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. I analyze every gesture, every word, every tone for hidden meaning. Dating feels impossible. I don't know how to let anyone in without feeling like I'm risking the same betrayal again. Intimacy is scary. Emotional closeness feels dangerous. I want to connect, to love, but my mind keeps warning me, this could end the same way. The mundane things trigger memories. Seeing a heart emoji on someone else's message makes my stomach tighten. Walking past the place we first kissed brings a flash of disbelief. Even laughter feels complicated. I want to laugh freely, but I'm always aware that joy can mask betrayal, that happiness can be temporary, fragile. I still replay the last days of our marriage, every conversation, every glance, every argument. I ask myself questions I'll never answer. Was I not enough? Could I have done something differently? Was there ever a chance we could have survived this? I don't have answers. I have a cautious life now, carefully structured, emotionally guarded. I'm still present for my kids, still engaged at work, still functional, but the man I was before betrayal is gone. And some part of me knows he's never coming back. I used to believe trust was unbreakable if nurtured properly. That showing up, being loyal, and giving love freely was enough. I was wrong. Betrayal taught me the cruelest lesson: trust is fragile, and it only takes a choice, someone else's decision, to shatter it completely. I think about love a lot now. About what it really means to love someone. I loved Lucia truly. I thought we had a life built on honesty, companionship, and shared dreams. I thought Mark was my friend, my brother. Both of those truths were real. And both of them still hurt me like a physical wound. Love doesn't guarantee safety. Love doesn't shield you from deceit. Love can coexist with betrayal, but that doesn't make the pain any less vivid, any less sharp. I also learned how much of myself I invested in others' approval and presence. I thought being a good husband, a good father, a reliable friend was all that mattered. I gave so much, I trusted so completely, that I neglected the part of myself that should have questioned, that should have noticed, that should have protected me. Now, I approach relationships cautiously. Not cynically, but guardedly. I weigh words, actions, intentions. I try to protect myself from the kind of devastation I experienced. Part of me mourns the person I once was, open, naive, endlessly loyal. Another part is grateful I survived it at all. Betrayal doesn't end neatly. It lingers. It shapes you. It teaches you to see clearly, but at the cost of innocence, of simplicity, and sometimes of peace. After the dust settled, I realized I couldn't move forward without confronting the wreckage inside me. Therapy became my lifeline. At first, it felt awkward, almost humiliating, to sit across from a stranger and admit that my wife and best friend had destroyed the life I thought I had. I didn't cry at first. I just listened to myself, the hollow echoes of betrayal bouncing back in the room. Over time, I learned to name the emotions I had buried. Anger, shame, guilt, fear, resentment. Each had its own rhythm, its own way of eating at me. Therapy didn't erase the pain, but it helped me understand it, compartmentalize it, and, slowly, accept that it was mine to carry, and I had to carry it alone. I also began to journal, a messy, unfiltered chronicle of everything I couldn't say aloud. Writing helped me untangle thoughts that were spinning too fast to catch. Sometimes I relived moments of betrayal with excruciating clarity. Sometimes I wrote letters to Lucia and Mark that I never sent, words meant to release rage, grief, and disappointment. I started routines to rebuild myself, running, reading, focusing on work and the kids. I learned to say no, to protect my emotional space, to prioritize my own mental health in ways I hadn't before. Some days I feel stronger. Other days the old pain surfaces, like a phantom limb. Coping isn't linear. It's messy, exhausting, and ongoing. But therapy, honesty with myself, and small daily victories remind me that while I'm scarred, I'm still standing. And maybe that counts for something. The aftermath of betrayal didn't just affect my marriage, it spilled into every corner of my life. Friendships I once took for granted felt precarious. I started questioning motives, words, and hidden intentions. Small lies from friends that I would have shrugged off before now made me pause, examine, and sometimes withdraw. Loyalty, which I once assumed was mutual, became a fragile currency I no longer trusted. Dating? Forget about it. I haven't even tried in earnest. The idea of opening up to someone new feels dangerous. Every compliment, every smile, every casual gesture now carries a hint of suspicion. Can I trust this person? Will they stay? Will someone else suddenly appear, invisible until it's too late, ready to take the life I thought I was building? Intimacy, both emotional and physical, is scary. I crave connection, but I recoil before it can grow. Even family relationships have been reshaped. I'm more guarded, more protective of my feelings. I offer love and care cautiously, always aware that attachment carries risk. Sometimes I wonder if I'd become too closed off, if this armor I built around myself will prevent me from ever fully experiencing joy again. The hardest part is that I still want to trust. I still want to believe in the goodness of people. But the betrayal left a permanent scar, a reminder that love and loyalty can be violated in ways you never imagine. I navigate relationships now with caution, vigilance, and a constant awareness that trust is earned, not given freely. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that loyalty and love are not enough. You can be the best spouse, the most reliable friend, the most devoted parent, and still be blindsided. Life doesn't reward goodness with safety, and trust can be weaponized against you by the people you love most. That's a lesson I've had to internalize painfully, over and over. I've learned to read between the lines, to pay attention to the subtle shifts in behavior, the little inconsistencies I used to ignore. I've learned that intuition matters and that ignoring it comes at a high cost. I've learned to protect my emotional space, to question motives, and to recognize when relationships are healthy, and when they're dangerous. I've also learned that survival matters. Betrayal doesn't end neatly. It leaves scars, rearranges priorities, and forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and the people you trust. But surviving it, acknowledging it, and taking steps to heal, that's something I can own. That's something that belongs to me, not to the people who hurt me. Some days, I'm proud of the man I've become. Stronger, more vigilant, more self-aware. Other days, I mourn the naive, trusting person I once was, the one who believed in unconditional love and faith in others. That person is gone, and I can't bring him back, but I can learn from him and carry forward the lessons he left behind. Most importantly, I've learned that while betrayal can take a lot from you, it doesn't have to take everything. You can rebuild, you can survive, and eventually, you can find some version of peace. I loved my wife. I trusted my best friend. Both of those truths are still real, and both of them broke me. That's the paradox I live with every day. The betrayal didn't just shatter my marriage, it shattered my sense of security, my assumptions about people, and the version of myself who believed that love and loyalty were invincible. Some days, I still catch myself replaying memories, searching for signs I missed, wondering if I could have done something differently. Other days, I remind myself that this wasn't my fault. That betrayal is a choice, and their choices were theirs alone. Even knowing that, the wound lingers. It's in the way I view trust now, the way I hesitate to open up, the way I guard my heart fiercely, almost compulsively. Co-parenting keeps us connected in a functional, polite way. I'm present for my kids, doing my best to shield them from the mess that destroyed my world. I'm engaged at work. I laugh sometimes. I sleep more than I did in those first months. But beneath the surface, there's a quiet scar that reminds me of what was lost, what I'll never fully recover, and the lessons I can't unlearn. I'm not writing this for pity, or revenge, or judgment. I'm writing it because carrying it alone is too heavy. Maybe someone out there will recognize the warning signs I ignored. Maybe this confession will help someone else protect themselves, or at least know they're not alone. I survived. I'm still standing. Some wounds never close, you just learn to live around them. And that's exactly what I do, every single day.